Bob would know.
Bob would know. Apologies, guys. It turns out that the broadcast there was deafened, so we didn't miss much. But we're just getting into the this week of motorsports. So the thing I was talking about was the 3 tracks being taken off of the schedule this season, and it was Homestead, Watkins Glen, and it's gone. So the one that really bothers me about this is the Homestead race being taken off because that is a championship caliber race. I mean, the championship was held there for I want to say it was a handful of seasons back in the day. And
Atlanta.
Atlanta was the other one. I can live with
I'm
Atlanta
okay
being
with
taken
that.
off. Yeah. Since they changed it, I mean, they already have Talladega in the playoff carousel. I'm fine with them taking Atlanta away, but tracks like Watkins Glen and Homestead, I'd say they're staples in the Cup Series. That's something that I believe should stay there. But I'm seeing that Darlington might be getting back into the playoffs with the removal of those 3, which I don't think Darlington should have ever been taken out of the playoffs. So I don't know, guys. So, do you have any feelings on that?
I mean, one would argue that Homestead should be the championship race again, but especially in this car, um, in the performance that it puts on in mile and a halves. So, I'm a big contributor to believing that. Uh, you know, Homestead being renewed is definitely. I think it's the wrong move. We'll see what's added in its place. Um, I think that from what I heard in the past, that the Roval was going to go away, that they were going to do two races at Charlotte a year again, um, at the Oval at least, right? So whether they go back to the Oval there and taking the road course out, that leaves are you going to have a road course in the playoffs? And I'm a firm believer there should be, and what's going to replace Watkins Glen?
Hot take: with the next gen car being so much better, road courses, did they just run the full course at Watkins Glen?
I would.
I wouldn't be
I would
opposed
love
to
to
it.
see it.
It'd be interesting.
I mean, those cars are made for the road courses. I don't see why they haven't opened up the boot yet and just said, "All right,
At least
guys,
the
we're going to
test.
take you down it." Yeah.
Be interesting.
Yeah. I would love to see if they're going to bring like a Road America back, or heck, even the Daytona road course. I mean, the options are there. If if they're taking Watkins Glen out of the playoffs, does that mean that they need to sub in another road course?
Uh, they need a road course if they're taking Watkins Glen and the Roval out, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Um, there's been the the rumor mill of whether NASCAR is going to go to Mexico City or Montreal next year, right? Now, you can't expect that to be in the playoffs. Um, so again, are you moving Coda to the playoffs? I would think not. You're not obviously not going to move. The only other logic would be moving Sonoma into the playoffs before they go to Phoenix. But man, do you really want a road course being a cutoff race before going into your final?
But they even have there's a road course layout at Homestead.
Yeah, there is a road course layout at Homestead, but I don't know if if a Cup car has the ability to roll around it. So it'd be interesting, honestly, to see what prevails in the 25 schedule when we see it come out.
Yeah, they keep asking Bob when that schedule's going to drop, and he keeps saying 2 to 4 weeks. And I think that was about 2 months ago. So
yeah. Well, yeah. You got to have an answer for something, right? So
of course. Real quick, briefly, before I hand it over to you, Eric, what were your guys' thoughts on Bell breaking the news about Briscoe going to Gibbs Racing.
That was the funniest shit ever. I mean, funniest stuff ever. Oh, for him to sit there in a news conference and not realize that Chase hasn't been able to release his own news yet, and then go and do it, and he never backtracked from it. He was like, "Oh well."
Yeah, what are you gonna do at that point?
Yeah,
it was super super funny, man, super funny. So
yeah. I seen a clip of Bell standing on pit road, and you just see somebody talking to him with a microphone, and Martin Truex Jr. in the background, like doing the hand with the mouth running. So it's good to see. He's a good dude, and that was a great way to break it. So
yeah, and Chase is a good driver too.
Do you think they went after the Mahindra sponsorship more than Chase?
I don't know.
mean,
I don't know if Mahindra will follow him or if they had more of a tying with Tony.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens there. They obviously have something coming, because I mean, the Bass Pro name with Martin Truex, that's been his staple and the reason he's continued to drive in the Cup Series, so it'll be interesting if Mahindra goes with him or if Gibbs has something in line from a sponsorship deal. My question was, are they going to get rid of the 19 and bring the 18 back?
yeah. I mean, it's always possible. Since it was the 18 before the 19, so
Yeah, 18's been the Gibbs number, for years, and once Kyle left and Ty come in, he's been running his dad's number, so be interesting to see.
for sure. Eric, I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to you, man.
Yeah, so interesting news. Fun fact. I've been watching the last season of F1, and I don't really keep up with F1 too much. I'll watch it every once in a while, the race or whatnot, and because sometimes it's on at odd hours or whatnot, so I don't follow it too much. But I just learned it during the F1, the episodes from last season that Ricardo is back with Red Bull, and then he was in is it AlphaTauri? Is that who the uh who
It
who
is.
who their second team is?
The
Alpha.
official name is Visa Cash App RB Formula One Team. So try
Oh.
keep saying that.
Well, he winds up there and then breaks his wrist. So I'm like, what the heck, man? Um, but just some interesting fun facts that I learned this week by just watching Netflix, I guess, right? So um, never have I paid attention to it, to an Uber uh, a level, right? But I know Justin, you pay attention to it a lot, and it's probably old news to you. So
Yep.
how is he doing this season? Is he still in the
As,
car?
as bad as he's been doing since he left actual Red Bull.
Oh, well, that's fair.
Yeah, he's not too hot. So
Yeah.
be interesting to see. I think he should be out of that seat. They have a very young driver, Liam Lawson, who filled in for him last year when he was out with a broken wrist, and I think performed well above the car. And so he's kind of just in the shadows waiting. And supposedly Red Bull said they would get him a seat by 2025. So not sure what's going to plan out for Danny Rick or Liam Lawson.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, that's some fun facts of the F1 world that I wasn't aware of. So
Speaking of F1, JT, I imagine you've watched the race, digested it, broke it down, all the data and everything.
Yeah, all of it.
What do you think of that race, man? I every week I get a chance to watch one of these things. Those Arrow McLaren cars, man, they're on fire.
Well,
One of the
think you're.
cars.
I think you're. No, well, I think you're confusing Arrow with IndyCar.
Oh,
This is
apologies.
just McLaren F1, but they keep bringing all the upgrades. I will say that each car has been stellar performance from each driver as well. Oscar kind of had just a bad qualifying run, but he's been scoring podiums and very good points finishing positions. Um, so they're really the one to even be pushing, to get closer and closer to Red Bull. I think that the start of that race, Lando really didn't get the best launch, and he was trying to really pinch Max to the inside, and that allowed Russell to get his slipstream from third place down, on the racing line into turn one, which, he ended up basically overtaking Max and Lando from P1 and 2 from where he was in P3. So off the start, it was a little hectic, especially being a Lando fan. And as the strategies played out, it was interesting. Lando went a little longer on the soft compound tire than Max or anybody else did. So I think they're trying to really get a good enough gap to maybe squeeze out a pit stop at all possible to be able to overtake, Max with the under overcut. But Lando was in just a couple of seconds. I think it was like 2.5 seconds finishing behind Max. And if you kind of really think about it, that was kind of due to the pretty much lap one right off of the start. So had he not maybe been as cautious as he was, which he had every, it was good for him to be that way because it was getting tight. But if you kind of think about it, that might have been what cost Lando the win over Verstappen.
Yeah, and remember the announcers were saying that there was a 4 second gap due to him fighting with Russell.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were at like 7 or 8 seconds. And one of the announcers was saying, all right, so if he gets down close to 4 seconds, we know that the Red Bull's still ahead a little. If he's at 4 seconds, they're even. If he's under 4 seconds by the time it comes around, then the McLaren's making up ground on the Red Bull. And to come down
Yep.
2.5, he was chunking that, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been driving lights out, and like I said, Piastri as well. He's been over. He's just been a stellar driver, and it's only the second year. So the future's bright if they can keep that driver pairing, keep the cars coming. It'll be good. It was interesting. There was no safety cars, no red flags, no weather. So it was an interesting Spanish Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Drop the flag and watch them go.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching the race. I think I watched probably 30 laps of it, maybe. But the one thing that's kind of stuck out with me is what in the world happened to Bottas since he left Mercedes? Was it just Mercedes kind of keeping him up?
Yeah, I mean, when he was there, they were the team to beat. With that car, I think it was more on keeping the car clean. I mean, Bottas had some really good drives at Mercedes, but again, he was the second fiddle to Lewis. So performance-wise, the car was great. Lewis did, or Valtteri did enough, to continue to score points and podiums. But he's with Kick Sauber. They're another team that has a ridiculous name, but just their back marker team, which they're going to be going to. They'll be the Factory Works Audi team here in a year or two.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, all good things. I did not get to watch any of the IndyCar since it got kicked to Peacock due to the NASCAR race running over. I'm sure James got to see it. If you guys haven't noticed, James isn't with us here tonight. He should be with us next week, so he just needed a day off. Is that about cover it, guys? Is that everything we want to talk about for the week?
Penske won 6 hours of Watkins Glen in
Oh
the
yeah.
in the hypercar class.
Yep.
I want to say they got first and third or fourth. I don't know if they double podiumed or not.
With everything going on over the weekend, I forgot the 6 hours of the gun was. I even watched a little bit of it. Man,
Yep. And then it turned there. They had some weather come in, which took some stuff up, which was interesting. And I mean, I'm a fan of Jordan Taylor because I think he's just hilarious and a hell of a driver as well. But he hasn't had really much luck since he's gone back to Wayne Taylor Racing in the hypercar.
yeah, that was an Acura, correct? He was in.
Yep.
When
Yeah.
I seen the J Taylor and there wasn't a Chevy Corvette next to it, I'm like, when did that happen?
It's cool. He's driving. I think he's in the 10, and his brother is in the 40 Acura. I want to say,
Okay,
which is pretty cool.
Eric, you got something over there?
The 7 and the 6 podiumed. So
Nice double podium for Penske.
Yeah, the 7 got the victory and the 6 got 2. So, obviously, congrats to Penske, right? So I'm I I'm glad that team is doing well. They
Oh yeah.
struggled when they were in the Audi. Um, I'm glad they're throwing out some victories there and whatnot. And it's also good to see. Uh, shoot, Blaney's on a hot streak too. He got uh, second there at WWT, won in Iowa, right? And got second this weekend. So he's on a hot streak too. That's good to see as well. And hopefully they can keep it up and have some contenders um, in the Cup Series and going into the championship, right? So some other news. I don't know. Did anybody watch Pikes Peak or follow Pikes Peak at all? That was this weekend.
I didn't know that was on. I would have watched that.
Yeah, I don't think it was on national TV, but I have a fellow that works with me. His son owns a racing team. Runs a racing team. He pretty much puts the cars together and whatnot. Anyways, they have a woman driver, and she's now the fastest woman to go up Pikes Peak. So
Oh
it
man,
was cool to see that. And she they were running a Supra, Toyota Supra, basically a factory race car, and um, she's the fastest woman to go up the mountain. So pretty neat to see, and
It's cool.
hopefully it puts his company on the map. So I know he works hard at it. But if you ever want to look at it, it's called Thunder Bunny Racing. So
Nice.
yep.
good things. So we're going to go ahead and head into our Midwest Motorsports coverage for the races in the last week. So we're going to start this with the road course stuff that Justin Thaler participates in.
Go for it.
So I'm pulling up the slideshow right now. Where were you guys last week? If you could let me know.
Where were we? Hold on. Let me look at the schedule because I forget
Was it
myself.
Monza?
We were at Monza. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So a lot of good things at Monza. That's the is that the Temple of Speed?
It is. It is.
Looks like you had Max Bauer, apologies, come out of that in the pro side, and Ian Bakaitis come out in the AM side.
Yeah, I just want to say it was good to see. Max had some things he was dealing with, so he wasn't able to participate for a couple weeks. But he's back in full form, and it was good to see him get back into on the top step of the podium. So he's a really fast driver, consistent, and usually I'm not around him too often, but it was good to see him get a win.
Yeah, I was waiting to see when I'd see that picture back up there of him. I know last season or the season before, he kind of just ran away with it.
Yeah, he's
So
had a couple good seasons with us.
yeah, it's good to see him back in the winner's circle. How'd the race shake out, Jay?
It was really good. Lap 1 was very clean. We had no incidents. So everybody funneled through. I want to say the tradition of a fellow admin by the name of Steve Hansel didn't punt me into turn 1, which was really cool because it's been a theme over the past couple times we've raced there. So that was pretty funny. But everybody made it through. A lot of 2 wide racing going on. So yeah, it was an interesting race with the slipstream playing out, and you could really tell what cars were dominant there. Mercedes, McLaren, with just the top end speed. If you were in like the Porsche like I am, you kind of it was difficult. You could close on them through a lot of the chicanes or through the Lesmos corner. Um, but other than that, you're kind of just a sitting duck, really. By the time you could get to somebody, it was almost really too late to even make a move. And if you were able to make a move, it would have been out of complete desperation if you were in the Porsche. But it was a fun race, very competitive. We had a decent field, so it was. I always enjoy Monza, so it was definitely one we had fun at.
Very competitive. Anybody looking at the stream, if you could take a look at that up on the screen right now. Am I looking at that correctly, JT? That the top 4 all finished within a second and a half of each other?
Yeah, we've had quite a few races. Bathurst, P1
Yeah, Bathurst was
through, I think, was it 3 or 4, Eric, for
It was top
90%
three.
of the race? They were all within, what,
The-
8/10 of the whole time? It was just a train.
Yep, the top three were chasing each other the whole way. It was an amazing race.
Sebring, if anybody watched Sebring, that was the leaders were all just right into one another. So it's been really good, and we always talk about the leaders, and those guys are just in a league of their own, but they have competition. It's really not one guy, every week in and week out. Just dominating. We've had multiple winners every week, and those guys are just uber competitive and clean and race each other hard but fair, and it's just super cool to see. And throughout the whole field, there's action everywhere.
I know I say it seems like every week, but it just seems like every week you guys have a nose to nose finish in the road racing side. That is
It's awesome.
awesome. Yeah, it's
It is.
awesome.
It is.
Uh,
Yeah, we have fun on Tuesday nights.
That's good. You guys keep it up. I mean, that's great job on everybody's behalf to run clean races and also come up with great finishes like this.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go ahead, pop over to the Pro Division Championship standings. Looks.
Yeah. Look how close that points battle is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's coming down to the pipe. Like, it just seems like these guys are just constantly beside each other.
You've got one race left, correct?
Correct. Yep. Tomorrow's
night.
the finale. Yep. So it's going to come down to whichever, either Brian Cox or Jason Phillips, whichever one finishes ahead.
Well, you guys are taking it out to the streets of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yep. Buddy.
Oh yeah.
Nothing
It's
like
a wild
deciding
one.
this on a street course, man. Street fight out there.
Yep. So it'll be exciting. It was a good race last season. Not for myself, but I mean, I had a bad race last year, but I ended up having a decent recovery. But
How is it?
having
How is it passing there?
There's quite a few. It's not bad. So there's a couple pretty decent long straights. Once you come into turn 1, it's pretty wide. So like if you can really hold the apex tight at turn 1, take somebody on the inside, you can make a move there. But there's after turn 2, like if you set up turn 2, you can get a pretty long run into a sweeping right-hander, so you can carry some speed. But there are some very, very technical sections of that track, and it is very bumpy. especially some of the corners. There's bumps, so you kind of really got to make sure your car is balanced going in through those corners, but you also have to make sure um, you're not pushing it too hard and unsettling it, where a lot of those bumps are. And when I was first, because last year was the first time we've run that track, and the tricky thing is like there's two sections of the track that to me almost looked identical until you kind of figure them out. Like there's giant McDonald's banners all over two parts of the track, and it was so hard at first to remember, where you were on track and what the next, sector was going to look like. But a lot of the track it's pretty wide for a street course, so it's fun. We should run it in Cup.
No, no.
Is so? Are you forecasting a good bit of passing then at this track?
Yeah, I think it's going to be elbows out. Um, I'm really going to tell the guys, yeah, it's the last race, so I don't really know how you can get penalized further unless we do points or something. But I'm really hoping that everybody, doesn't ruin anybody else's race by being just too aggressive or you know driving like a complete lunatic and all that. But I think the elbows will have to come out in some sections. But I'm hoping it's a clean race and there's plenty of passing and street courses are fun because you know when you're surrounded by walls and you have absolutely zero runoff, you have to be perfect on entry of a corner to
Yeah.
maximize your lap time and your speed and everything else that goes into perfecting a lap. So it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of guys are going to be on edge and worn out. I think after this race.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great way to wrap up the road season.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the AM Division Championship standings here, it looks like Ian Bakaitis has a 80-point lead over Ty Williams.
Mm-hmm.
That is also close.
Yep.
I'd like to give a shout out there to Ty, man, coming from the oval side over and putting on a heck of a show over there on the roadside. So good job to you, man. Hope we'll see how that road course driving's helped out with Sonoma coming up on the Cup side this season and this weekend the truck side. So
And another thing, not only it being a street course, but you have to remember we do open qualifying, so it's going to be very interesting to see. Are guys going to give it a little bit before they come out of the pits, get somewhat of a gap, or are they just going to try and go for it as quickly as they can, get out and get track position for quali? So,
strategetic qualifying, man. You gotta get that space in between you.
yeah. So you get 15 minutes. It's open quali though.
It's going to be interesting. Anybody listening, go ahead, tune into that race tomorrow. You'll find it on the Twitch stream from Rivenvale. Should be a heck of a race with the way these championship standings are working out. And every race seems to be a tight one. So I wouldn't expect this one to go any other way.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go ahead, guys, and transition over to the Truck Series. It was out at Las Vegas over the weekend. I didn't get a chance to watch a race in this one. Both of you gentlemen raced in it, correct?
Correct.
Something like that. Yeah.
So
Oh boy.
I have to ask the both of you because you weren't on here last week. Since they did the update to the trucks, have you noticed any big differences with how they handle or anything? Justin, go ahead. You can start and then hand it over to Eric.
I have. I'm hoping others have as well. You have to drive the truck now. I think more than you really had to before. Little more finesse, steering and throttle, inputs and minor corrections throughout the lap. You can't just hold it wide open like you used to and do all that good fun stuff. So I think it's becoming more of a driver's car, and I think it's been really fun with what they've done to it, and I like it. I'm just hoping that everybody gets a little more seat time and understands, especially when you're in traffic and stuff, the changes of how the trucks perform, um, not only over a solo lap, but in traffic as well.
Yeah, that's the biggest one in traffic. I love this update. This is definitely the best update Trucks has gotten in a really long time. The biggest thing is, and the thing that I'm seeing the most, and this was my first race in since the update, but some of my observation is just that we overdrive the truck a little bit beyond what we're used to, because before you could pretty much throw it in behind another truck and it'd be fairly stable. Now when you try to follow a line of another driver, it's gonna make you a little loose. You could take the air off the spoiler on another truck entering a turn and make them loose. So it's a little more realistic to what they go through in a data, or in a real truck race. So I do, to those of you in the league, I would definitely highly recommend practicing with some other trucks around you, because the arrow in it now is going to be very effective on where you put the front of that truck. So
Mhm.
um,
It
I
moves
love it.
around quite a bit. That's fun.
Yeah, I love it, because if we could drift around each turn, I would be all about it, right? So I love a loose vehicle, and it's something that I like to drive, is something that's a little challenging. So point and turn just never excites me. So I'm all about this update. Can't wait to see some of the rest of the tracks that we're going to, how it's going to affect it.
Yeah. You had a good quote there, I'd say, about the trucks were always just point and turn. Like
Yeah,
there was never any like aero feel to them, or it was kind of hard to break them loose because they were a slower truck or a
yeah,
slower vehicle. So I'm glad they made this change. I get it. The trucks are an entry level truck or vehicle, but you still want to get that most realistic feeling that you can,
hmm
and it seems like it's trending that way, which is great. Just kind of recap the truck race here. It looks like it was 106 laps. You guys had 9 different leaders, 22 lead changes, 10 cautions for 35 laps. That's still a little high. I know you guys are still trying to feel each other out and get a good idea who's racing who, how you're racing each other. So, uh, as the season went on last season, I know that number dropped drastically. You guys put in some really good races towards the end of the season, so hopefully we can get that train moving a little bit sooner this season here in the next race or two, get those numbers down, and that way everybody can enjoy some of the strategy and green flag pit stops and everything that encompasses that
I'm
throughout an entire race.
Yeah.
I'm confident we'll get there. It's definitely going to take everybody's, from an individual standpoint, to definitely practice and understand where their limitations are around other vehicles. And that'll limit the mistakes that are made in a race event,
Hmm.
on a Friday night. Um, I can't stress enough that practice does make you better. It doesn't make you perfect, but it does make you better. It does make you faster. And knowing your limitations will, and the consistency with it will definitely reap the rewards towards the end. So continue to do that, you guys that are listening, and don't definitely don't get frustrated with yourselves. Learn from mistakes, and try to do it a little better for the next time, right? So um I think a little bit of practice will go a long way, and the more we get used to the new era, package, it'll definitely help.
For sure.
Yeah, have a little patience. I mean, these are long races. We get a comp caution. Feel the truck out, feel the car out, and the traffic and everything else. And we put on a hell of it. Was it Kentucky? I think we had maybe one actual caution and then the comp caution. And then we ran 80 green flag laps. So, and that was with like a 42 truck field. So we can do it. It takes everybody, but I think we've shown that it can be done, and it's far more enjoyable for everybody.
Exactly. So I got the points up. It looks like Nick Aslin is the points leader in the trucks. Dustin is on his march towards the top, though, 7 points behind. Justin, you're there in third, 18 points behind the leader. Sean Happick, 22 points behind the leader, and Mark Cochran is 24 points behind the leader. Looks like Ty's making a charge towards the front there in sixth. Jumped 7 positions in that last race, so. And it looks like Robert Sanders also jumped 11 positions to move into 10th. So we got some big movers this week. It's interesting to see Dustin on that charge. So we'll see how long it takes him to catch Nick. I know Nick's a pretty fast driver. He's pretty clean. I haven't had any issues with him, but we'll see how everything shakes out in the trucks. Next week at Sonoma. Ooh. So, yep, Nick's running in trucks next week too. So that'll be a good race. Guys, join the broadcast this Friday. I believe it goes up at 9:30, and they'll be out in the wine country for the race. So tune in for that. We'll go ahead here and move on to Cup before we wrap things up here. Eric, congratulations, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. That was a stressful race. Definitely got that one on. Definitely got that one on some fuel mileage. I wasn't thinking that I was gonna run fuel mileage, but I believe it was the last caution we had. Kind of threw some, threw that on the table at least.
Mhm.
To be able to even try to split that up. But I was saving quite a bit there in that first stint before my last stop, and ultimately led me to saving a little extra even on the last stint. Um, I ran out between the start finish and turn 4, which Ty was catching pretty fast there. So I was luckily, thankfully, able to coast across the start finish line before he got me. But um, definitely was a fuel mileage race that one I wasn't even thinking was gonna be. So um, was a was a was fun. I do love strategy races like that. That come down to the decision from the driver in the seat rather than what who's turning the fastest laps. So um, that was fun, and it was fun to uh, fun to wind up in victory lane again. It's been a while, so
Well
glad
deserved.
glad I got back there.
So I'm gonna hit a quick race recap here, and then I want to start into something. So we ran 100 laps out at Michigan, 9 leaders for 18 lead changes here, 6 cautions for 13 laps. Not too bad, guys.
Hmm.
The only way I know how to sum up that race was basically a hornet's nest. It was as soon as you started, it's like somebody went out there and just took a rake to a hornet's nest and just pissed everybody off. It just seems like going down to the corners is people just throwing their cars in there and praying for sticks, praying at sticks, and I
You
don't know.
know that you're right too. So that track's super wide, right? Like super wide. Uh, it does welcome that, right? It does welcome 3 wide racing on restarts to whatever, right? For the first 5-10 laps. of a restart or the start of the race. The I go back to practicing and understanding what you can do with the car and where you can put it, to chalking it up to that, right? I think, we tend to think we're Superman at sometimes and, try to overdrive just a little bit to gain that one spot, and it does wind up to bite you later on. But uh, that track being so wide sometimes does welcome that, right?
Kind of entices a little aggressive driving.
Hmm.
Yeah. It either bites you, but like you said though, when you try and overdrive it, either bites you or somebody else too.
Yeah, you're more the more consistent you are, the better finishes you're going to be, right? And the more patient you are, the again, the better finishes you're going to be, especially if you're not wrapped up in wrecks, you know, trying to, for instance, trying to, pedal across the wreck that's happening in front of you with four cars that are spread all over the track and you're trying to get through it just to gain a position during a caution lap always winds up you getting involved with it, right? Rather than, breaking and just flat out stopping sometimes, right? So, uh, it's things that we don't think of in the moment. It's things that ultimately come with the time, right? And um, understanding that, yeah, I'm not gonna get through this by trying to full throttle it, all the way through. So, just being aware of your surroundings and again, understanding where you can put the car comfortably and, gain a position or just be patient, hit the brakes and, we'll see what happens on the restart. A lot of that comes with the experience and time as well. So,
Yeah, I'd have to say it just seems like there's a lot of take for us removing the stages. So you aren't getting any points for us removing the stages and kind of putting a point for your reset in there. It still feels like there's a lot of aggressive taking off the start.
yeah.
Hmm.
But eh, I mean, it all kind of sorts itself out. Normally, the aggressive takers normally end up getting wrapped up in something, and that's about the most they do for the night. So
Yeah, it does, man. So, honestly, I was for instance, in the beginning of that race, somewhere in the middle, I think it was myself, the 81 and the 95 that were battling for the longest time. And during our first stop, those were the two that I started to worry about, uh, as it would come to the end. And then, we went through our first stop and you know, um, obviously, thankfully for me, but due to circumstances, the 95 got a pit lane penalty, and that hurt him, right? So that put him out of contention. But I wasn't being uber aggressive or trying to you know um, just run people out of the way. I was just being patient with it. The 95 would steal first from me, and I'd just follow him for a few laps, and then just wait patiently until I knew I was a little bit faster than him through a corner and try to get around him, but never really tried to push it out of the way. And then, once that happened, he made a mistake, unfortunately, and it wound up to be a little bit easier for me towards the end, right? Um, so that's where I say being patient. I definitely could have, overdrove the car and tried to lead every lap or tried to have a really fast pit stop and sped myself in. um but again, I just played it on the cautious side and just tried to run my race and not try to um try to continue just to be out front and lead every lap, right? So um even there when I was saving fuel, it was I could have won the thing or I could have wound up finishing 20th, you know.
yep,
But the
bumping the
patience,
starter across the line.
exactly, right? But the patience, you know, that 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 led to me saving and getting just trying to stay out of the way up near the wall and uh, letting people by down low. It eats on you, right? Because you're letting people by, but I'm thankful at the end it did reap the reward of that and brought you across the finish line. So being patient and just running within your ability is uh, I guess you could say it's uh, the way I won that race, right?
Yep, exactly. Jay, I don't imagine you have anything you want to talk about in the race. It's kind of one of
Um,
those throwaway races.
well, I could have had a better. There was some nonsense that I had to deal with, but um, wasn't my most comfortable track by any means. But I felt like I should have finished better than what I did. But I was wondering what happened to you, to be
Uh,
honest. Because one point you were ahead of me, and then I come up on you and you're a lap down.
yeah, I ended up going on the pit road a little too hot.
Yeah, so not
Got a
running
speeding penalty.
to your ability. Yeah, just trying
Yeah,
to
I need to
jump.
stop worrying about the. I need to stop worrying about the people behind me coming on the pit road and just focus.
Yeah, that's a hard
You
one too. That
you
one's
that rear
definitely.
view always gets you, man. You glance up and you see somebody closing, and you're like, I need to get off the brake or I'm gonna get ran over, and then that's when you get it.
Yeah, it's really hard to focus out front when you do have that mirror behind you and you've been hit the rear, and that pit road is hard to enter. When you're coming off full speed. So um, I could
See if
definitely see that.
we'll see if I can turn my fortune around at Sonoma. That track's tough. It's slick. It's gonna be a uh,
You're driving it too hard if it's slick.
Sonoma.
Yep.
Get out of here. Have you practiced it?
I like Sonoma. I just think you're driving it in too hard.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and move on to the cup points here. So, Justin, you're still in the points lead here, man. 2 point lead over Ty Williams.
Yep.
Uh,
Barely
uh,
hanging on by a thread.
yeah, it looks like the trend is the 11 on the assault. He's moving up the list here, past me for third. 14 points behind you. I'm 16 points behind. Uh, Eric, you got 8. You jumped 8 spots there, man.
Yeah, well, it's obviously thankful for the win, and I did miss last week, so that did help.
Yeah. You jumped 8 and Huffman jumped 6 spots with that race. So we got some big movers there for the week. Everybody heads off to Sonoma. I think it's going to be a fun race. I'm very interested in seeing how this competition caution works out. I know me and Josh have practiced the pacing with the field and everything. It's going to be fun. So just bear in mind, guys, all of our competitors that are in Truck and Cup, this is our first time executing this. There might be some hiccups, some snags, but we'll work on it, get it all figured out, and by the time Watkins Glen rolls around, everything should be worked out. So
Yeah.
that's okay,
Uh,
but
I was just to say, those of you listening, just patience, kind of something we're trying new here. I think it'll be beneficial for the end result come in the future. This one may seem this is the first one we've ever done like this, so be a little patient with us. We'll work through some of the challenges through this and gain a better understanding of what we need to do different for the next time. But I do believe in that getting everybody a little bunch back together during a comp caution will help a little bit of the strategy and in the running away of some of these road course races, and um, hopefully will be a little more exciting as the race goes on. So just be keep an eye out um, for some things that are released by the race director, Josh, obviously. we appreciate him and all his efforts for putting these ideas together and whatnot. And I'm excited to see this unveil, and hopefully, again, like I said, does bring a little bit more exciting racing. So
Of course. Just for all of our racers out there, we be on the lookout. Josh is going to be releasing some notes about the comp caution, what to expect, kind of the rundown for it. Should be coming tomorrow night. So just keep an eye out. It'll probably be labeled for everybody to see. I'm sure he's going to go over it in detail in the drivers' meeting as well on Friday and Saturday. But go ahead and read those notes up. That way, if you have questions, you can DM me, or you can DM Josh, and me and him can work through them and get you an answer. So, aside from that, you guys good for tonight? Does that about wrap up the podcast?
yeah, I think that wraps us up.
That damn soundboard.
Yeah, we found the soundboard before the podcast today, so uh, hopefully you don't see this being used quite often.
Why?
We might have to make some additions to it.
It's the
Then
soundboard, but it doesn't make you bored.
yeah.
Wow. Get this man off of here. All right, so that covers it for this week, guys. Tune in for our road races tomorrow. It's the final of the season, and it's going to be close. Truck Series out in Sonoma on Friday, and Cup Series out in Sonoma on Sunday. So join in, watch on Twitch, stream it. If you aren't a member of the league, go ahead and join it. We're always welcoming new members, and that's it, guys. So in good fashion, we're gonna sign off as James Johnson would, and tell everybody, stay in your lane. Till next week, guys.
We'll see you guys. Have a great week.
Oh my word.
That's awesome.